All right, we're getting started here.
People
really are going to start to think that we're sponsored by Coke or Pepsi.
Well, but I
One
think
of the two.
I like that we're keeping them guessing
Yeah.
by switching back and forth.
Well, the problem is there's only Pepsi machines downstairs.
It is a problem.
I'm a Coke guy,
I'm a Coke.
to be honest
girl.
with everybody.
Well, and of course, this is the new Pepsi water product.
Yeah.
It's just really delicious.
And I'm drinking out of an opaque canister, so you don't know what's in there. It could be anything. It could be a martini, but it's not.
I'm a Coke guy, but the thing is, that's cherry Pepsi. I can deal with that, as long as it's got some other flavor.
That's
to
like
it.
battery acid.
Well, and there's Dr. Pepper downstairs, too.
I do like Dr.
Yeah.
Pepper.
I occasionally
Pepper's
dabble in the
I forgot
doctor.
that we did. So now that we've gotten that out of the way.
This is SodaCast with Tim and Martha. But anyway, we were going to talk about DS-106 today.
We were going to talk about, well, we talked about it a little bit last week, and we
Right.
were going to talk again this week. So I got the final word yesterday that we will not be teaching digital storytelling this fall at the University of Mary Washington. Neither Jim nor I
Yeah.
were given a section to teach. So nobody was given a section. It wasn't just us that were denied. So we're trying to decide, what we might do in lieu of a formal credit, granting class at the university.
Yeah.
Now, there are two people in our network, Cheryl, Colan, and Michael Branson Smith,
Right.
who are both teaching similar types of courses this fall. And I know Jim had talked at least with Michael 2 weeks ago or last week.
I think it was last week, and Jim and Michael talked for a little bit, and I think they're both on. Jim's definitely on vacation, but I think Michael is as
Okay.
well. Cheryl's around, but I don't think she was able. She's not going to be able to join us. I don't think today. I'm not sure. But yeah, so we'll talk about it. But we're not running any course. We get to be participants this time, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, well, that will be, and that's something I'm actually looking forward to.
Yeah.
Is kicking back and sort of experiencing this as
Right.
opposed to being responsible for.
It is a different experience.
But I guess Jim and Michael talked a little bit about a possible narrative
Yeah.
that they could use to construct the semester in those different classes, and I think Cheryl's on board with playing a part in that to some degree as well. But to be perfectly clear, they're the ones who are actually teaching that this fall, so I want to leave a lot of the decision, all of the decision about what happens with if we do go with a narrative up to whatever Cheryl and Michael are comfortable with. But I think we can brainstorm some possibilities, and I know a bunch of people on Twitter the other night we were talking about this because we were talking about the possibility of the class not going forward.
Well, there seems to be two camps. One who wants a full-on fictional narrative, go crazy,
Right.
go
Similar to
Summer
Oblivion.
Oblivion to the next level, that kind of thing. And then the other side says, with everything going on in the world today, whatever that argument means, maybe we shouldn't do something fictional. Maybe we should be doing something real, a real narrative.
Yeah.
A documentary of some specific thing.
I have to admit that when Tom Woodward suggested that maybe we shouldn't do an apocalyptic theme because of what's going on in the world today, I wanted to ask him if he knew something that I didn't know.
What?
But
Yeah, that was
I
my-
think I know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I think government's changing maybe is what he's getting at.
But that was a little alarming.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
It would
and
be-
then go ahead.
I'm thinking of the documentary idea, and it would kind of be cool to be able to, once we get done with this, have all the pieces for a documentary.
Right.
Have everything that's done within that. Whatever things are producing, and actually kind of, if you want to plan it out that much, I don't know.
Well,
but to have something like that to show at the end, to have a
Yeah.
complete movie that everybody's contributed to.
A lot of the assignments in DS-106, a lot of the design and the video and the audio, all of that sort of comes into play in a documentary. They
Yeah.
all play pieces of
Absolutely.
in this digital storytelling.
Well, and I think at one point this summer, Jim and I were talking about the Summer of Oblivion, and that more than any other instance of digital storytelling until then, that 5-week class really offered a tremendous amount of kind of media fodder that if we wanted to, we could put together a documentary about the Summer of Oblivion.
Yeah. Well,
That would be really pretty fascinating.
Yeah, well, Jason just mentioned a documentary about digital storytelling.
Right.
Sort of that
Right.
same idea, which is...
And we're all about the meta, by the way.
Yeah.
So there's nothing too meta for us.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
metas. Yeah. And then another thing that had come up is Todd Conaway he's been talking about this for a while and had thrown together a Google Doc about the ideas, different narrative ideas in a course,
Mhm.
and something he had suggested was to choose a fictional plot and to go into the course with a very rough idea of what that is, and then literally assign characters
Yeah.
to the students, you know, to kind of map out an outline of who the characters in that story might be.
Yeah.
And then on the first day of class, they get assigned that character, and then throughout the course, their assignments are done as part of telling the larger story through the eyes and the voice of the character who they've been assigned.
It's hard because I feel like if you know, I don't want too many boundaries in all of it, but at the same
Yeah.
time, if you just let people loose and say, do whatever you want, Summer of Oblivion was kind of that. At least
Yeah.
for us here in the office, it was just sort of, what can we make up today? And I feel like, you know, a
Right.
13-week narrative of doing that, at the end, I don't know that we're going to have anything of really great quality or substance. And
On the
so-
other hand, it could go the other way.
Yeah.
Like, it could be that with 13 weeks, people are able to kind of wrap their heads around it more fully than I know. For some people, I think the 5-week, you know, incredibly heightened timeline scenario for that class made it difficult to sort of like, it was like just as you were kind of wrapping your head around where the story was, it was off in like another direction.
Right.
And it made hard for students to kind of know where to contribute and how to contribute. And with Todd's suggestion, because you are kind of giving everybody this kind of voice, this agency that's an assigned character right from the start, there isn't the opportunity to just be like, well, I don't know where I fit into this.
Right.
You
that's
know?
that's the key, I think, is that everybody's got to be on the same page in some respects,
Right.
so that it's not like, oh, this week I suddenly killed everybody. And,
Right.
what did we do since then, or that thing? But I do feel like, and I made this argument on Twitter last night, and I still kind of feel that people are a little bit more engaged when you are working with fiction, when you're able to get creative in that aspect. Whereas with something that's real, yes, the end result can be great. A lot of documentaries are on non-fictional things. That
Right.
makes sense that way. But at the same time, it's harder to get people excited about doing a documentary about the stock market, or doing a documentary about, you know, people living in Japan in the aftermath of an earthquake or something like that. But if you do a fictional documentary of an event that never happened, an apocalyptic event or something like that, I feel like that's really where the creative juices start flowing.
So
on
we're
that.
going for the mockumentary then.
Maybe.
Is that?
Maybe it's more of a mockumentary.
Oh,
I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I
I
got a
kinda
lot
like
of
that
lashback
idea.
on that. A lot of people say
There are a lot of people who feel strongly about having some kind of authentic, you know, non-fictional, like Tim was saying, he would like to see a central question or theme, and then have different groups play out local or personal versions of that, interpretations of that. And I'd be curious to know, like, what kind of theme, like, he would have in mind.
Right.
I'm struggling with kind of coming up with what, like you said, what sort of theme you could choose that would be interesting and engaging
Well, one key
and relevant.
one thing that I think is really key to it is finding something that no matter where people are, they can relate to it and be able
Right.
to record video and audio and create content around that theme. It
Right.
can't be something about Japan or something
Right.
specific to New Zealand, or even, something in New York where Michael is, or somewhere else, because then, that doesn't allow the distributed network to participate in the
Right.
same way. So I think it needs to be broader in a sense, but you can pull in aspects of that.
Right.
Tom mentioned something, and I'm trying to remember his exact phrasing, but it was something along the lines of referring back to their localities and things like
Yeah.
that. And it would be cool for me to be able to see like this end result, this documentary, where there's video footage and audio footage of all these different localities and this huge network coming together around a central theme.
Right.
Now,
and it's just a question of, do you go with kind of a more general documentary style theme, or do you pick some sort of fictional narrative around which people can build a story? Because
Right.
again, I don't know what I can't think of what that theme would necessarily be. I mean, maybe that's my failure of my own vision, but
Yeah.
I'm having trouble sort of imagining.
those professors asking if we saw or played Urgent
Yeah, I'm
Evoke.
trying to go to that site and it's not
Well, you're on
coming
a
up.
you're on an
A
iPad.
crash
Is it
course
Flash?
in changing the world. Can you tell us more about that? Because it's not
One of those
iPad
one-word
friendly.
It's
And
Well,
shocking.
what kind of one-word themes, Jason? I'm trying to think.
You need
Jog
one
our
of those one-word themes. Yeah.
Like what kinds?
Um,
Love.
Maybe it's good.
love,
Maybe there's so
Love
many
is in
people
the
in the
air.
chat.
home,
Okay.
purpose,
Yeah.
amusement. Yeah.
I saw some videos recently that were along the same lines. I think one where it was like motion or something, and they'd taken 4 different places around the world,
Right.
and it would be like someone walking along the street corners, and they cut it so that the video was constantly changing, but the person in the middle was staying
Right.
the same and moving around and drinking at a water fountain, and the background would constantly be changing to these 4 different countries.
Another, I don't know, I'm just thinking about Jason, well, whoever, it was Jason who made that suggestion about the one-word theme. What it made me think of is the way that we've been approaching the audio assignments
Yeah.
in DS-106 for the last couple sections, where the students pick some kind of theme around which they then produce the
Right.
show, and we leave it really up to them how they want to interpret that theme, whether they want it to be something like a fictional narrative, whether they want to do a kind of a documentary, whether they want to do an interview style show. But if you picked a theme and then tried to do something in the class that really revolved around group work,
Yeah.
and having students work throughout the semester in those groups, you might even be able to leave it up to them. Like,
Yeah.
do they want to interpret that theme within a fictional narrative? Do they
Right.
want to spend the semester working on sort of documentary style pieces? So that what you get then is sort of a collage of different
Yeah.
interpretations of a theme told through a variety of different storytelling lenses, depending on the student or the group's particular interest and how they'd like to do that. So that's another.
So it looks
Another possible.
Evoke looks kind of like a graphic novel.
novel.
He says it was a fictional narrative told in graphic novel form, with each chapter challenge serving as a focusing mechanism for interaction, assignments, etc. That's kind of cool. Game
Yeah.
mechanics, badges, quests.
I see that.
So,
I can see that right here on my iPad.
That's good that
It's
you
coming
can
up.
see that.
It's coming up.
Andy.
I thought I
Nice
should-
and sharp, and
Just in
I
case
didn't
you
even-
completely lost your vision,
I
I
didn't
thought I would
even
read
have
that
your
for
glasses.
you.
tip my glasses down
Good.
to see that.
Very
Right.
good. So.
Thank you for that, noise professor.
Yeah, the audio assignment, that's probably one of the few in DS-106 so far where it's involved group work,
Yeah.
I would say, right?
We very frequently tell, like, for projects, it's like you can work in groups,
Right.
but you don't have to.
Mhm.
So, like, particularly with my summer class, I made that an option for some assignments, and some of them chose to, but a lot of them chose to work singularly.
Yeah.
The radio show, because there was just such a burden, I mean, it was just so much.
It's a lot of technological
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that was the reason for approaching that more as a group work, at least in the spring.
I'm interested to see how it's all going to work. I'm excited about it, but it's sort of, there are people who don't like working in groups, and then there are facts of nature with it being this distributed network online that make it difficult in and
Sure.
of itself. To
Yeah.
you think in online courses, if you require someone to do group work, well, what does that mean? We have to find a meeting space online somewhere and make it work. For students, that's really difficult.
Yeah.
Us adults on Twitter and whatnot,
I
we
don't know.
figure
Is it
out
really that
sometimes.
difficult? I just don't fully believe that they don't do other kinds of things
Yeah.
online.
I think it's one of those
mean,
things that Jeff McClurkin talks about, where it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
You make them feel a little uncomfortable, get outside of their normal thing, and they'll, I think, eventually pick it up.
And I think it's unexpected more
Right.
than anything for them. It's
Right.
like, why would I have to do that for a class? Usually, you hand me this sort of platform upon which we're going to do the group work. Like, we're going to meet in, class this many times, or, but to tell them, look, the burden is on you. You have to work in a group. You have to figure out how to do that. You have to figure out what tools to use. Like, I realize that's hard, but,
It's kind of
that's
like
kind of light. I mean,
what
like,
you do in real life. Yeah.
there's a real good chance that when you're out there working in the real world, you'll be called upon to do something similar.
Yeah, there
So
won't be
why not
somebody
model it now
in the front of the room that tells you
in a safe place?
exactly what
Yeah.
to do.
So I didn't start any timer, but my guess is that we're nearing somewhere around the 15-minute mark. Would that be roughly
Sure.
correct?
If we're
couldn't
done, we
say.
can
With
probably
that.
finish up, but we can add any more final comments.
Well, a few comments just related to DTLT today that I need to address are that we're not using Justin TV anymore. So people need to go to dtlttoday.com/live if they want to watch the live show. It seems like 4 p.m. Eastern seems to be the general time frame that we're broadcasting, a little bit before then, a little bit after then. But for the most part, that's what it is. And the other thing that I was going to do is a call for volunteers. We need people to be interviewed to talk about stuff that's going on. Especially right now, it's summertime. The professors are just starting to get back, but we haven't really lured them in here to see what we're doing. And so we want to be able to talk to you all and see what you all are up to. And so we have content for this show. So if you're interested in doing that, get a hold of us, you know how, on Twitter, on, you know, our various social networks and things.
So DTLTtoday.com/live is the only place to see the live show at this point.
Or if you're watching on an iPhone or an iPad, you can do DTLTtoday.com/iPhone, and that will stream as well. Now, the thing about that with that live stream is that there's like a 45 second delay. It's not real time. So if you were trying to follow along with the chat and stuff.
Now, one other question. Are we going to do a live show tomorrow in our presentation? Because if that's true, then our live show is going to be a different time. And we don't know what that time is yet.
Follow DTLT Today on Twitter, and we'll let you know.
Because we're going to be talking to some new faculty tomorrow.
Oh, you're going to do the show?
And we thought about, and if we don't pull this off, we'll be on at our normal time, and you can tune in at your regular assigned time. But we were thinking of bringing the kit down there and recording from there and seeing if we could kind of bring in a live audience or whatever from that room. So.
Yeah, if you're not yet following the DTLT Today Twitter account, you should, because I've been putting stuff out there all the time about what's going on and what we're talking about, and especially when we're going live, because we're very unpredictable.
So basically, you're going to go in front of new faculty tomorrow and tell them that what we do is produce live talk shows.
Exactly. We're going to bring the couch down.
Yeah. Right.
And as part of their contracts, you will be interviewed by us.
Right. That's what we do. Okay.
All right, folks, that's it. Thank you for watching. Thanks for joining in on the chat. Spread it out to your friends. Let everybody know what we're doing. And
we want to be
famous. Internet famous.
Yeah.
All right, take care.